know it's difficult to start to talk, but we are here, and there is a lot of people of the crew who are here. Aurélien, Olivier Crouzel, who did the video projection. Aurélien, who did the editing. Aurélien Guégan, Mélissa Toutijon, who did the sound. I'm part of the Melusine team. So I don't know if you have some questions. We are here for you.
Okay, hello. Sorry for my English, it's very basic. First of all, thank you for this project. It's really interesting. I really appreciate it. I think this is the first time that you showed that film, right?
Not exactly. We started to show, we screened for the first time in Thessaloniki, documentary film.
Okay. Would you like to have a distribution all around the world, or you hope? I mean.
Exactly, we hope. Yeah, exactly.
Because do you think you have some problem in some part in the world, like the USA or?
So yes, for now we. Eleanor, if you want maybe. Yes.
Thank you for saying that. This is a very difficult movie to distribute, so you have to be realistic, right? When you criticize very strong international organizations in a very direct way, that makes a lot of people quite scared. So that's just a reality of this kind of filmmaking. And we have worked very hard in our company to try to get it in as many festivals as possible. And there were a lot that just didn't want to go there. So we were very pleased when Marcel Jean and Michael Marin were so supportive of this film. And Marcel continues to be supportive of it. But I think that, as I said earlier, it's this extraordinary collective collaboration between journalists and citizen activists and animators and filmmakers and musicians and artists that can start to open a path, But it's not easy, and it's really a real credit to Annecy that they would take a film like this and make it so available. But it's not an easy movie, because it stays in your head, and you start to think about, what is my place in a world where there are a lot of things I don't agree with, and then what can I do, to create change, and I think it's really important when you give a voice to people who don't have a voice.
Hi, thank you, first of all. Speaking of voices, I wanted to know if the animated people, if their voice were like the original ones, like for example of the women from Ukraine.
No, not everyone. Some are, like the psychologist in the beginning, or which one? Ban Ki-moon, Gutierrez, and something like that. But no, we decided to record the voices because it was much more easier also for the animation team, and also it was difficult to speak with the witnesses. So we cannot ask them to record until we had the good one. So they speak once, and that's all, and that's already a big deal.
Yes, hello. So congratulations for this film and for showing that, because actually I think that we are really not well informed about all that matters, and the fact that there is no judgment of those illegal acts. I was just wondering, because we saw a couple of animated films dealing with war, the couple of previous years, and maybe one reason is that we can show some things, some scenes that are not really possible to show in live action. Was it a matter for you, a question that you had to decide how far you can go and what you could show? Because I don't know if it would have been a better choice to show it more some more violent scene, because maybe it would have been not very appropriate. But was it one question you had, and how did you resolve it if you had this question?
I can answer. Maybe I think you are French. Maybe.
Yes, I am.
Okay, can I continue in French? Sorry, but okay. Okay, the other is not French. Okay, I continue in English. Sorry for my English.
There is only French.
No, okay, I continue in English. Sorry for that. Well, okay, we want to stay in, you know, in not in free violence. We're not sorry. Ok, sorry. Voilà, on voulait rester dans une ligne assez. On voulait pas faire de la violence gratuite, voilà. Donc on ne voulait pas non plus montrer de la pornographie, on ne voulait pas aller dans des images chocs, on voulait rester plutôt sur quelque chose de pas aller vers le voyeurisme. Puisque le propos était déjà très très fort, le texte était très très fort, ça ne servait à rien de provoquer un écœurement ou quelque chose de trop facile au niveau de l'image et être racoleur, voyeur. Voilà. En fait, c'est plutôt ça le truc.
You're not easy to translate. It's a job. What Denis is saying is that the point in it, but you've seen that was not to do like free violence or to go toward even what would have been considered as pornographic. The point was to stay in some kind of restraint and of dignity, if I may a bit, in restraint and in dignity. And because there is no need in such a topic, because the text was already very strong, the testimonials were already very strong. Going further in showing would have been like too voyeurist and unrespectful.
If I may. I didn't talk about before, but I will talk now. The system that you have to understand, because we are in Annecy Festival, so most of you are animators or want to be animators, or this film is not really a feature film, it's an animated reportage, as you saw. So you have to understand also the way we worked. Basically, we had to go fast, we had to find a way, because we had a very little bit of money. And so each time the reportage was coming, we were starting storyboarding and stuff like that, and we wanted to stick with the reportage. We didn't want to extrapolate, we didn't want to make any kind of idealization of what they were saying. We had to stay plain. That's what we choose, to stay really narrow and to stay really quiet on the pace, because to counterbalance the violence that are described in this film. So it's really important to understand the way we work. You have to know also, and that those guys were, I want to underline that because they were really brave, because you have to know that in some case they were threatened to death by some guys, by military. We were really sometimes blacklisted in some festivals because we were talking about the UN, and the UN were sponsoring some part of the festivals and stuff like that. So it was taking a lot of courage to do that. And to complete that, the purpose was not to show more, you know, to don't make any kind of dramatization, but to stay in the word, you know, to keep the witness to speak, to open their mouths, and to encourage, to denounce that part, you know. Well, that's what I wanted to say.
And also, we wanted to use also animation because it's always difficult to hear difficult stories, and the first reaction we have in general is when it's too tough, is to say, okay, stop, I can't continue anymore to listen to stories, it's too difficult. So from the beginning, the idea of the use of animation is to create a short distance with a minimalist approach to make at the end the purpose a little bit easier to understand and to listen. So yes, we really created the movie in a way that it's more easy for the audience to enter in the film, in the topic.
Excusez-moi, je parle en français parce que je ne suis pas très bonne en anglais et je ne suis pas sûre d'avoir, peut-être l'avez-vous dit tout à l'heure, je voulais savoir si avec ce film, vous espérez avoir un impact auprès des autorités qui, par exemple, le ministère de la Défense ou l'ONU, puisque finalement les poursuites n'ont pas eu lieu et bon, c'est vrai que des fois on voit que certaines interventions médiatiques peuvent entraîner des choses positives pour les victimes. Je voulais savoir ce que vous en pensez, enfin ce que vous espérez.
So the question is if we expect to have an impact with this film in the concrete world. Yes, as I said in the beginning, but yeah, it's a social. We call it a social impact film. So we build it in this way. We already had, as I said in the beginning, positive concrete. Conclusion in Ukraine with this law we passed, was voted about sexual violences. You can see it in the film. They speak a bit about it. So it was last week. Also in a French case, we had a meeting with the Ministry of Defense. It was one year ago already, but nothing happened until then. And in a few months we will have an audition to the French Parliament also. I'm not sure it will help also because it's very political. They invite us because we put a lot of media pressure. So I mean, it's just a political meeting. So I'm not sure it will help. Yes, we expect, but we're not sure about anything. And yes.
It's impact campaigns, and impact is something that we have been building here for Zero Impunity, but it's something that we have been commonly doing because on those tough topics there has been documentaries, feature films that talk about the topic, but most of the time you get this pain in your stomach, you feel sad, you feel angry, you feel powerless. So the impact campaigns for us are a way, whether you have 2 minutes to see a post on Facebook and sign a petition, or you have 20 minutes to read an article on Mediapart, who has been one of our partners, or like you, 90 minutes to sit and see a film and start a conversation with us and with yourselves, as Eleanor put it. I think that's something we have in mind when we create this impact, because that's important that after a day of work we can all, if we can address a few minutes to the topic and actually make a change, this is where impact campaigns become interesting, because generally we, as a humanity, we all want to do better than that.
There was also in the United Nations, there was also some regulation now mentioned. A few months ago, the not because of the movie, of course, but because of a general pressure, United Nations decided to put something based on rape as a war crime, as a war weapon, and of course United States denied it. I don't know if you remember, because they denied the case of abortion, in case of rape, in case of war. I think Russia and United States were the only two countries who didn't sign this UN new regulation.
But in opposite, in a bad way, we supported also Fatou Bensouda, the prosecutor of the ICC. She tried to put in trial the US government for what happened in Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo, and the USA just forbidden her to go in USA as I don't know, and she stopped the investigation. So nothing will happen also with USA and the ICC case. So it's quite a 50-50.
Hello, I wanted to know if these were the only interview you had, or you had to shorter
some of them, or you can't show us because it was too painful or too long? Did you change the stories?
We had a lot, especially on the Ukrainian case. This one we showed you. It's a very smoothie one, if you want to speak like this. We had very bad things, rape with perceuse, you know, in Ukraine especially, or in Congo. But we didn't want to show it in the film because it's too heavy, and I'm not sure it will help our purpose, our goal. And I'm not sure it will help you to understand more that you understand now.
Because at the end of the day, the facts are known for years and years. If you look at the Human Rights Watch reports after the Rwandan genocide or the Bosnian wars, it's all the same for years and for years and for years. So it's relating to the question up until where do you show things and when does it stop to make a point?
If you just want to have I don't remember 4 or 5 interview, or you collect many and you selected which we can show, which we can't show.
Yes, we collected, the investigative journalists who work on the project collect many testimonies, and we decided which ones will be on the screen.
First of all, congratulations on the film, it's very powerful. I'm quite proud to listen that it premiered in Thessaloniki, being from Greece as well. And we'd like to welcome you to Animasiros Festival as well in September if you'd be able to. Besides that, I wanted to ask you if you received any criticism, because I see mostly a male creative team, whether you have criticism or whether you have thought in the beginning to include more women in the process on the creative side.
No. And from the beginning, yes, as we explained at the beginning of the project, it was Marion who decided to create this project, and yes, we decided to create a project with all the gender, of course. But specifically for the investigative journalists, we only choose, of course, a female journalist, 12, because it was much easier for them to be in touch with witnesses, yes, because they are mostly women, and we know that it's easier for them to speak from a woman to a woman. But in a way, yeah.
And in Studio 352, we are on parity.
I think it's important when you think about this film that you understand the context that it was made in, because it's part of a transmedia project. And the motor behind that transmedia project is Marion and the journalists, which you see all over the film. And their work and the way that the reportages were published in digital and physical newspapers. People participated in digital demonstrations. This is just one part of a larger project that is continuing, and you also saw activists, which are mostly women around the world. So I think that this is actually an incredibly inclusive project. And I didn't know that the museum is 50-50. Congratulations! But it's really at a certain point, you know, you really have to take those discussions a bit further and look at the stories that are being told and how they're being told. And it's really about this idea of inclusion and giving voices. But the impetus of this project is very, very feminine.
But thank you for your question, really. Because the fact that it's not often brought up, and I think it's not about directors being male telling these stories, but are they aware that there could be an imbalance of power of who tells the story, to whom and how. I think this is also what is part of making our industry more inclusive, and the fact that those questions are just brought up. Are you aware that there could be an imbalance? How do you tackle it? I think it's also a good way to move further.
Bravo, of course. Thank you very much. Just to follow up on this question, this very question, I think it would have been very interesting to listen to male voices on our point of view, feminine point of view, to hear that we are not alone. And so you've done that because you are here, the four of you. And but it's always much more touching to know that you're here on the other side. Well, that was just a comment. My other question, really simply, was to know what sort of reaction you had so far from the press, American press, that was my question, and French press, and maybe all over the world.
American press, nothing for now. No, not so much, nothing. And for the French press or European press, we have to split because now it's okay because the film is here in Annecy, so there is a lot of press who are interested in the film, etc. Before, during the process of production, we had problems with French press who especially didn't want to. They wanted all the investigation. The Syrian ones, the Ukrainian ones, even the UN, but not, for example, the Sangaris one, so the French case one in Congo. So there is a lot of press who didn't want it to have this one, and except our partner, French partner, Mediapart, because it's an independent press, so it's not the same. So, yeah.
That's why Marcel Jean said very, very cleverly that with the contre-champ section, avec cette section, animation can be used also where the press is not effective with the distance. So for the young guys who work in animation, there is a lot of things to say and to fight for, because sometimes Spider-Man is fun. The world we're living in needs more than Spider-Man. Now we need brains.
What a conclusion, no?
One last
Yeah?
question.
Huh?
The last one.
Bonjour, merci et bravo pour votre film. I was wondering if there was any footage that you couldn't use because you were prevented from doing so, any topic that you wanted to include in your film and you just couldn't?
Yes, it was mostly the most complex part was when we did the investigative reports, when the journalists did the investigative reports. Because during the process and investigation, they had some feedbacks from UN or different kind of government who told us, okay, be careful about what you will speak, because we will watch you and we will check what you will do. So of course we had a lot of pressure at this time, but later in terms of but later it was no problem. But yes, we put it in the film, of course. And now the film is out, is released. I mean, it's much easier at the end. Because it's here, it's more difficult for different states to say, okay, I don't totally agree with you. Yes. So I think now the film is here, and we have an audience. We are protected.
And technically, we asked authorization for all interviews, even for the UN ones. We sent mails to the UN press or communication department saying, can we interview these people? And they said yes, and it's only afterwards we got mails saying, well, they shouldn't have answered that. Can you just not use it? So it was just, why? That's yes, that's just funny. So yes, we have the agreement to use everything that you have seen, but we didn't have like more, and we haven't never been forbidden to. I mean, we didn't censor ourselves. That's what I mean. We didn't censor ourselves. They didn't censor themselves.
The very last.
Very last.
Hello, it will be very brief. I was just wondering, while you were talking to people in the streets for your project, did you manage to change the mind of some people on the topic?
Not, of course. After we published the investigative reports on different kind of newspaper, yes, from the beginning we wanted to do 100% animation movie based on investigative reports. But when we published these investigative reports, we were very surprised by a lot of social networks comments. We say, okay, I can't believe it, it's not true, you are a pro-Bashar, or pro-Russian, pro-American, we are a lot of things. And so at this time, we decided to go back, Stéphane and I, and Olivier, to the different places, Ukraine, United States, etc., to speak with people in the street. But the idea was not to convince them, of course. It's not possible to do that. We just wanted to speak with them, to understand. And that's why we put in the film, sometimes you can hear some testimonies who say, okay, I agree with torture, etc., but no, we don't try to convince them. If they wanted to support us, they decided to do it. And it's, to accept to be shot by a camera and later in the evening to be projected on a very big wall, you have to be very supportive to do that. Brave. It's not possible to convince someone in the street and to force him or her to do that. So yeah. But thank you for this question, because sometimes we have to explain it.
Merci, on va devoir vider la salle.